May I have Siddharth from Tyroo, please? Put your hands together for Siddharth from Tyroo.
Hello everyone, my name is Siddharth. I'm co-founder of Tyroo. And before we just begin the presentation, I just wanted to, have a show of hands. I had I've seen those quiz pops happening in the last panel, and that really excited me just to understand, oh thank you, just to understand what is the mix of audience. So how many app developers are out here? Great. And how many people are coming in for a conference, a mobile internet conference for the first time? Very cool. So I think so the organizers are doing a great job organizing an event in Chennai. And one last thing. How many people out here are here to learn about mobile advertising, about mobile in general, how to make a lot of money? And how many people out here are A? And B, how many people out here are here to meet other people and see how we can create more businesses, find more talent? So first, how many people are here to learn? Cool, everyone is here to learn. And how many people are here to meet other people? Nice. So if you're here to meet people, then why are we sitting? Why are we all just looking at the screens? If I just request everyone to just rise up. If you can just stand up, please. Come on, guys, stand up. And I'm sure that you'll have someone on your left, someone on your right. And why don't you just introduce yourself? Just take a couple of minutes. Just say hi to each other. Get to know where you're from, what you're doing. There's nothing called too much networking. That's why we come to conferences. It's good to, stretch your back, say hi to people around, wave. Hey, how's it going? Great, great. Please. So sorry to break the momentum, make it a little bit more lighter. We are trying to do a professional show out here. But I think so the objective, but why I started all this is that any event you go to, and a lot of the people coming here are coming here for the first time, any event you go to, please don't leave any opportunity unturned to get business cards, right? These are the people, that is the only way to measure success going to a conference is how many business cards you really got, how many new connects you made. It is not about what is that value addition, the ROI you're going to get immediately, but it's also about how these connects may give you lifetime value of customers. And we'll talk about the LTVs in my presentation further. So without wasting more time, I'll begin now, please. Awesome. So today in my presentation, I'm actually going to talk about the whole advent of m-commerce, and specifically from an India market point of view. We come across a lot of app developers who are creating games, people who are creating content commerce apps, people who are creating various kind of things under the sun, especially when we keep hearing about companies like Flipkart getting a round of funding and funding every 8 to 10 months. It really excites us, and everyone wants to create the next billion-dollar product coming up from India. I'm specifically going to talk about, I think one of the questions which was asked in the last panel was that, how do I really get my name out there as an app developer? How do I do it at a low cost? I don't have a lot of money. I don't have a lot of funding money. So how do I really do that? So I'll try to answer that without spending money. So let's try to go through it. Yeah, it works. Okay. Great, right? So again, few stats, and this is something which I've collected, I've seen over some time, over the last 6 months, is that everyone is talking about India. I'm spending a lot more time in China over the last 6-8 months. China is a great mobile economy. They have been growing at a very rapid pace. Quite recently, I read somewhere an article which said that the global smartphone sales will decline this year. And the reason for that is that China has reached a saturation level. So now you can imagine the impact of Chinese market on the overall global smartphone phenomena is that if the Chinese market is reaching a saturation level, the global smartphone sales are going to drop out. And while you're there in China, you go meet any single company, right? And there was an article this morning in Economic Times which talks about how much time is Jack Ma of Alibaba has spent over the last 6 months coming to India, how much time the Chinese companies are spending time coming to India. everyone is looking at India and saying that, hey, we are saturating our penetration bases in China. I think so for Chinese, because they like to do things big, they look at us as a neighbor and they say, hey, there are 1 billion plus people available. What can we do about India, right? And these numbers, which you see up there on the screen, we have a very high mobile internet penetration. I think so there are around 900 million mobile subscribers in the market. There are around 172 million mobile internet users now in India. We hear a number of 250 million. I think so the numbers which I like more is 172 million. It looks more realistic. 250 million makes my business plan looks very weak. But yeah, so 172 million I really strive for. But honestly speaking, if you really look at these numbers, they're really misleading. As an app developer, as someone who's running a business on the internet, it's really misleading. Because if I would ask people, if I would ask like, great people who have been in this industry for a very, very long time, people who have been at the operator end, how many number of people actually are using internet? The number which I hear is surprisingly only 60 or 70 million. So on a base of 172 million, there are only 60 or 70 million people in India who are actually using mobile internet. So where does this number really come from? When telecoms release their reports, when research reports come out, and when they say about the number of 172 million, these are the people who are actually going up to the operator portal, right? These are the people who are going up to the operator portal. These are the people who are possibly using Facebook's that famous 0 rupee plan, which again is integrated into the operator ecosystem. They are not the people who would spend an MB to come and consume your app. They are not those people who will spend money to consume your content on an M site. So I think so getting the numbers right is very, very important. Today as an app developer, when you think of conquering India, think of making sure that your apps become the number one app, it's important to have realistic numbers and have realistic expectation from this market. But hey, future is quite smart. As you can clearly see, right, while India is a 900 million device subscriber market at 172 million smartphone internet devices, the penetration rate is increasing at a very rapid pace. I think so. I doubt there will be any single person in this room who would be even carrying a feature phone. We are a smartphone market. I think so the very basic difference between us and the US, and I get asked this question a lot when people talk about ARPUs, about lifetime values, is that the average cost of device in our market is still around 5,000 rupees or less than $100. Whereas when you're talking in other markets, in developed markets, the average cost of device is around $220. So I think so that's a big difference. That talks about the quality of users which really exist in our market. But what is really good about India, and I think that's what really excites everyone, and that's what excites us as being part of the ecosystem, is that the consumer behavior on the device, on the mobile internet, is very much similar to how consumers engage and interact in a developed economy. So traditionally, and this is some data which I just culled out from the App Store, just to look at what are the kind of apps or what are the kind of content consumption apps are consumers really taking out, you would see that the numbers are very similar. The messaging apps are leading the pack, right? So, your WhatsApp, your WeChat, your Hikes, all the messaging apps are leading the pack. And then you have you have your mobile video, and then you have e-commerce. So let's say if I talk about top 10, so top 10 Google Play Store apps which you're really going to be seeing, you'll only find one, or I think there's only one e-commerce company right now, which is Flipkart, which was there in top 10 when I did that research. And that's why it's only shopping is 8%. So there's too much noise about shopping that, hey, e-commerce apps are doing great business and they're there on the top 10. But I think so India, like anywhere else in the world, our content consumption patterns are almost similar. So, great. India is a great economy. We have great audiences available who have great appetite for content, who have great appetite for mobile consumption. There's so many people who are coming on mobile, who are just accessing internet or experiencing internet for the first time on mobile. For any person, any app developer now who's trying to reach out, I think so this is the basic question it comes down to. What is the framework? What should be my strategy on reaching out to these guys? And before we even go into the strategy, even if we go towards source, we go towards placement, where should I spend money, where I shouldn't spend money, I think so it's about understanding the basic objectives. You cannot have a single unified goal that I will get, let's say if you're creating a game, that I will get this consumer to buy something in my game as one unified goal. These goals need to be broken down into smaller steps. And for any app developer, a stack of these steps would look in a similar fashion. So what are the steps which a mobile app marketing, what is the life cycle a marketing plan would really go through? Will look something like this. He will go through installs, he will go through action, he will go through retarget, he will go through purchase and recommend. And just to elaborate on each of the steps, install means installs, I don't need to talk about it. I think so the important steps is that today no marketer is thinking beyond installs. Everyone is so super excited to ask questions about installs, that how can I get an install at the cheapest cost. But I think so the most important steps in the stacks which are missing is, how do I create intent? I've got the install going, how do I really create the intent? How do I create engagement? That's how do I retarget that re-engagement again and again? How do I really entice the consumer to do the purchase? And lastly, if he really likes your product, if he's a really true believer or consumer of your product, how do we get him to recommend? We are in a social world. We are practically doing check-in that we are sitting at a GMSI conference. We are tweeting about it. Then why aren't we recommending products we really like? How do we get those consumers to really recommend those products? I think so. These are the these are the 5 important steps which any marketing plan needs to have. And I guess where you should be focusing is on the 5th. If you are creating a great app, if you're creating a great product, stop thinking about how do I get the purchase, start thinking about how do I get a recommendation. Because if your consumers can become your marketers, if they can become your brand ambassador, that's when you really hacked the formula to get great mobile marketing going. So, again, just to give a little bit of insight, like I said, Indian consumers are very, very similar in their content consumption behavior, like in the US, like in other markets. On an average, if you look at your own smartphone device as well, on average, an Indian consumer has around 50 to 51 apps installed on their phone, which is very similar to the global average. Out of these 51 apps, practically 50% of these apps, 25 to 30, depending on which smartphone using Android, iOS, or any other operating system, would be the native apps coming in pre-burned from the OS handset manufacturer. Balance is where the fight is happening. So which means if there are, like I showed in the last slide, if there are 5 or 6 important categories in which consumers are consuming content, let that be messaging, let that be gaming, let that be commerce, social and others, I think so there is only space for 1 or maximum 2 apps in each category to get into the phone. So that's the battle which you're fighting. And I think so the other important thing is that from a strategy point of view, like I said in the last tag, everyone is trying to fight, think about this, you are fighting against a WhatsApp. You could be like a journal app, but you're still fighting against the WhatsApp, you're still fighting against the Facebook, and you're fighting against the Flipkart for that share of voice, for a positioning inside that phone. So be ready that as an app developer, you can't think that, hey, I have selected a very small pond for myself where I will become the leader and that's where consumers will come. No, you need to be ready to fight the big guys. You need to create great engagement experience in your app so that people, irrespective of the category you sit off, are really talking about you. So I think so there's a lot more content available online on how you should spend money, and like it was discussed in the last panel. The best channels are the one which gives you ROI. So let's say in the world of mobile, back in the desktop world, 10 years back when I started working, 14 years back actually when I started working, it was Google. Everything was Google search. That if you want to get ROI, put it on Google search. But I think so in mobile app, it's all about Facebook. Why? Facebook has reach, Facebook has audiences. It's much more better to give out ROI. But I think so for an app developer, this is the most wrong path to take. I think so what is the most important thing is like when you start your business, right? What is the first thing you let go is of your own salary. You don't get paid, right? You don't have money to pay yourself. You're actually putting your hours to get revenue, to make sales for yourself, to make profit for yourself. That is the same concept you need to take in app marketing. In app marketing, it's all about bootstrapping. It's all about organic acquisition. That is the first thing, that is the only thing which you need to be thinking about day in, day out. How do you really get organic acquisition? And there are multiple ways. I think there are multiple primers which are available. I like these. These are my basic philosophies. I have seen a lot of app developers follow and succeed. Very, very basic thing. Understand your TG, right? Understand your audience. Talk to them. Very, very basic, right? How do you get to talk to them? Forget talking to them. How do you get your Play Store listing right? Today, I think Satya is here from Sulekha, and of course, they are running a very, very large classified company, and I think so he's much better poised to answer how does impact of writing a great listing really works. But I've seen so many apps on Play Store who don't even get their Play Store description right. If you can't even communicate in simple English or language in which you're trying to promote your app to your consumer and explain your USP, why will he download your app? Forget reviews, feedback, everything comes secondary. That's one thing which is primary. Get your listing right. Second, you've got your app up there in the Play Store, right? People have started to download it, great. You know, people are writing reviews and feedback, talk back to them. Create a conversation. We always have, I think so, while I was standing at back, I was seeing that every second or third person going was, you know, either doing WhatsApp, was talking on some kind of a chat tool. Talk to your consumers. Why are you leaving them out? I think that's important. And, you know, rest, I think so everything will fall in place. And so these are some simple rules to follow as an app developer. Focus on organic acquisition. It's easier said than done, but hey, I think so this has to be a prime objective, and this is something which you need to live by. So very interestingly, you know, a lot of time people ask me that, hey, I'm trying to work on the organic acquisitions. I really want to understand how does Google Play algorithm really works, right? How do I really game it? How do I really game it to my advantage? These are some simple metrics which I have identified over the years now working in this industry. What are the things you should really look at, right? Number one thing is that whichever category you're trying to go in for, you need to get your installs goal clear. Which mean, example, if you're creating an app, let's say in the rummy space, which is right now the hottest space in India, if it's a rummy game, you need to be sure what is that largest app, what is the total number of installs they're doing, what is the second guy, what is the third guy. If you were to become a mover and shaker in this category, what is that install number you need to hit out? So knowing this becomes very, very important. Second is to look at the reviews. How much conversation are those apps really generating? It makes a lot of impact. That has to be a goal for you as well. It's not about getting only installs. If you start to measure your effectiveness of a media plan just because of number of great installs you're getting, boss, you are not going to go anywhere. You need to get this right. You need to look at this metric on how many reviews are happening, how many positive reviews are happening, and first, know your competition. How many conversations they are going out. Third and most important, what is your DAU? I think so you can spend as much money as possible in this world, get as many number of installs, but if you're not able to maintain a minimum daily active user base, that will define how much amount of engagement you're creating. That will only lead to funnel, which is either the purchase funnel or the content consumption funnel inside your app. So get this right. And lastly, people coming into the shop is a great thing. How many people are going out? I think that's important. What are the uninstalls which are happening? And, you know, wherever you're spending money, you know, and what are the kind of analytics you're using, you can look at consumer at a device level. You should look at consumers at your source level. You should look at consumer at your engagement level. Find out drop-offs happening at each point in your journey. So these are a few important metrics to look at. Of course, you know, my slides are going to be available later on, you know, where one would really, so there's more detail available on how to really look at it. But I think these are a few important KPIs to measure performance of a marketing plan which you're planning to create out. So from the last slide before I talk about this, I think it's a very important thing. A lot of people ask me, how can I get my app ranking to go up, right? So, of course, I spoke about the organic ways of life, and like I said, I truly believe the last on the framework which I showed you, recommendation, which is word of mouth. It could be social, it could be through your peers. That is the best way to get organic ranking going up. But hey, that's what companies like us are for. We are also here to help you get your ranking going up. So a lot of the large e-commerce companies, a lot of the large gaming companies use companies like Tyroo to boost their rank up because of two reasons. If you look at the Google Play Store or any on App Store fundamentally, right, let that be Apple, Google, Microsoft, and so forth, if you're able to get your app to move into higher rankings, there is a direct impact on the discovery which is happening, which means more people will start to see you, right? You'll start to get featured, you'll start to come in top 10, right? It is a simple philosophy, right? Everyone remembers who was the first guy to land on moon. It's very hard to remember the second guy, right? His name is hard to remember. That's the same philosophy which every single company spending money follows, that if I'm able to get my app to rank the highest, let that be first, second, or third, at least the organic discovery channels of the App Store, the featured listings, the trendings, and so forth will start to feature my apps, which will lead to more discoverability inside the App Store, more organic installs, and as everyone said rightly, organic installs are always the highest quality installs which you need to really go for. So that's a very important strategy. Most of the time, most of these large companies use incent. What I mean by incent traffic is that there are various kind of supply sources which are available, like recharge apps. And again, just to give an example, what is a recharge app is like, today if you go on to Google Play Store and write Airtel prepaid recharge, you will find 50 or 100 different kind of apps which will be more than happy to give you additional 10 rupees or 20 rupees on the recharge which you're doing to download someone else's content or subscribe to someone's app and so forth. Now, that's what recharge app does, and that's what incentivize. When you really incentivize a consumer to download your content, download your app, it's a great way to boost your ranking up. But trust me, with such powers also come the evils. The evil out here is that those consumers will also use you. They will get their recharge and then they will go away. You may only see 10% of those consumers retaining your app, and that's also a very good case scenario. I've seen worse. So if you are very, very clear on your strategy that if I can pay someone to get someone to walk into your shop, right, experience your product, and you have the capability, all the stars and glitters to ensure he stays in there, great strategy, do it. Flipkart can afford it, a Paytm can afford it, can you? That's the question which you need to answer before you go down that path. And again, coming back to commerce, I think the commerce being the largest category out here in the market, very, very clearly, if you are creating a service which is dependent on purchase instead of content consumption, another question which gets asked by a lot of app developers is, what should be the price I should be ready to pay to acquire a customer, right? You know, there are various price points. I go into Facebook, Facebook is saying, hey, bid for a $2 customer. Tyroo is coming and say, hey, bid for a 50-cent customer. Where should I put my money? What is the right price? I think so. The price is not dependent by these marketing companies outside. The price is dependent on simple business economics. How much money can you pay to get that customer? And to calculate that, it's a very, very simple formula. There are two things to be taken into account, and that's where a lot of the app developers make a mistake and they're not able to spend money. First, let's assume you have a game where a customer, you're enticing him to pay another $5 to maybe buy a power pack. I'm just giving an example. So now you would say, hey, I will make $5 of a consumer. I'm happy to share $3 with the marketing companies. That you get a consumer, I'll pay him $3 if you come and pay $5, right? That's how sales commission works in a company, but it doesn't work in the online world. In online world, what you need to think is that if a consumer will come and he will pay $5, can I get $5 out of him every month? Which means, can I get $60 out of him? So now, if a customer can come and get $60, if you're able to get $60 out of him, can I now part away with $30 with the marketing company or not? That's how you calculate lifetime value for customer. That's how these large companies are able to spend so much money. That's how you get your discounts in your Flipkart apps when you see that, hey, take 1,000 rupees upfront, buy the mobile phone, because they're trying to create a habit. You'll take the discount, you will buy that mobile phone from Flipkart, you will like that experience, and you will continue to come to these large e-commerce companies. That's the same philosophy as an app developer you need to follow. I'll skip this in interest of time, because I think so everyone was talking about acquisition. Retentions are not a favorite topic in any of the conferences I go to these days. Yeah, so monetization, I think so. This is a very important aspect. So we want to make money. I'm creating great content app. In India, consumers are not buying. So what is the problem? When I talk to a lot of game developers, and I'm again taking an example of game developers because they are the most pained community right now in our market. A lot of the game developers say that in India, like US, like China, like Korea, we don't have a very active paying consumer base. We are only, I think so, the latest start which I had was there are only $100 million worth of digital mobile advertising plus gaming revenue which flows into this market from a third-party Play Store standpoint. Now, if we look at that kind of stat, right, it's very disheartening to create content, very disheartening to create an app. But I think that's where monetization really come into play. I think Akrit was giving an example of how he's running a service, right, which helps consumers to discover better product and services. That's a great product they're working on. Now, companies like Tyroo are trying to work with companies like Akrit's, which is a haptics app, where the idea and objective is that how can we bring in advertising natively into that experience of the consumer so that they are able to make revenue beyond just going on the standard in-app purchases and so forth. For instance, which means that we are able to plug in ad dollars which are able to subsidize the growth of consumers, growth of users, and ensure that you guys can continue to spend money on getting more consumers, make your app success. So great, I think that's from my side. And if there are any questions, I'm available offline to answer. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Siddharth. That was like an extensive presentation, very detailed. Let's come on, let's finish up your selfie, man. Come on.